It's September, leaves are turning, sweaters are blooming, our coffees are getting sweeter and more expensive, but really, as much as we like to make fun of the PSL, autumn flavors are something to celebrate. So today we're making a butternut squash pasta with sage and sausage. This is going to be awesome. By the time you're done cooking and eating this dish, you're going to be ready to jump into a pile of leaves, get on a hayride, to a pumpkin patch, and dress up as a pilgrim. Let's go.
Let's get started with the butternut squash. To keep from having to peel this thing, we'll roast it in halves. Butternut squash is notoriously hard, so you're going to want a large, very sharp knife for this. First, cut off the top and the bottom of the squash. Next, hold on to the bulb end, insert your tip at the bottom of the neck, and push down to slice it in half. If you don't get it all the way through on your first try, that's fine. Just flip it over and cut on the other side. Now we're going to do something similar with the bulb end. The key here is that we're going to keep our fingers way away from the blade. We're going to scoop out the seeds. You can save these for roasting later. I'm not, but you can. Coat the exposed face with olive oil and place it face down onto a baking sheet. Now we're going to halve and peel an onion, placing it alongside the squash. This is going into a preheated 425-degree oven for about 50 minutes to an hour until a knife can easily pass through the flesh with no resistance and the face is nice and caramelized. Let that cool down a bit before scooping into a blender, adding your onion and a couple of cloves of garlic. To help this blend and get the consistency where we want it, we're going to need some water. Chicken broth would also work if you have that on hand. I'm starting with about a cup here, but after a few minutes I decided to add a half cup more. It may have been a good idea to add even more for reasons you'll see later, but after about 5 minutes of high-powered blending, this looks pretty good to me. Now we're going to start with our sausage, which I'm removing from their casings and adding to a cold, heavy-bottomed pot, along with some salt. I think this dish really benefits from some heat, so these are spicy Italian sausages. Now this is up to you, but in this dish I like to have the sausage broken up into very small pieces. Now we're going to cook these all the way through and let them get a little crispy. I thought the sausage would leave enough fat in the pan for the sage, but it didn't, so I'm adding some olive oil and heating it up before adding the sage leaves. You want these crispy and not brown, so stay close to these. Just a minute or so should do the trick. Once the sage is removed, my idea was to add the squash puree and let this sit and simmer very gently while I get my pasta cooked. I even found this fun, autumn-shaped pasta on sale, and I thought it would help with the fall mood. But if your mixture is as thick as mine, you do not want to leave this alone. Now after cleaning my entire studio, I'm going to add the sausage into the squash and stir that up. Taste the sauce and adjust for seasoning as you see fit. If you remember, I didn't add any salt to the squash puree, so this needs a good amount. A minute before the pasta is al dente, add it to the sauce where it will finish cooking. Add some pasta water, about 1/3 of a cup, and stir vigorously to help thicken and emulsify the sauce. After about 45 seconds of that, stop and see where the sauce is. If you want it thicker, just keep it on the heat and continue to stir. If you want it thinner, add a little more pasta water. Once you like where you're at, remove the pot from heat and grate in about 1/4 cup of Parmesano Reggiano. The real stuff. No shaky cheese, please. Now this is ready to plate. Garnish with your crispy sage and a little more parm. I'm also adding some red pepper flakes for extra heat. That's optional, of course. And that's it. This dish strikes a beautiful balance between savory and sweet that is so unique to a classic fall entree. I hope you try it out soon. Now please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video, and I'll see you next time.